The next section that we want to talk about is compositions of functions. Compositions is just a fancy way of saying that I'm going to combine a function by plugging one function into another. So the example that you saw was given g of x equals 2x minus 3 and f of x equals x plus 5. I want to find g of f of x. Now remember that this little open circle right here doesn't represent multiplication. It actually represents of, which is alluding to a composition. So another way that you could write this is g of f of x. And the reason that I prefer this way is because let's say that I want to take this g of x function and I want to evaluate it at 2. So what does that mean? It means everywhere that there's an x, I'm going to replace it with a 2. So this now becomes 2 times 2 minus 3. So in this case, everywhere that there's an x in the g, I'm going to replace it with the value of f of x. So the value of f of x is x plus 5. So that means that everywhere that there's an x, which is right here, I'm going to replace it with this x plus 5. So I have 2, some value, represented by x, minus 3. And I'm going to replace it with x plus 5. So I took this f of x function and I plugged it in where the x was. Now all we have left to do from here is simplify. So distribute that 2. We get 2x plus 10. And then bring down the minus 3. Combine our like terms, and we get 2x plus 7. So this is our final answer. So let's look at a couple other examples. So I like to make a note of what value or what function I'm plugging into what function before I get started so that I don't make any mistakes. So in this case, the g comes first of f. This means I'm going to plug f into g. So let's say I have f is x squared plus 8, g is x minus 1, so let's write down the x minus 1, or sorry, let's go ahead and write down g of something equals x minus 1, but what am I replacing that x with? Well, I'm replacing it with x squared plus 8, because that was the value of f. All we have left to do from here is to simplify. There's no like terms with the x squared, so I'm just going to bring it down. And then the 8 minus 1 is going to give us a plus 7. So this is my final answer for A. Now B says g of h of x. This is telling me to plug the inside value h into the outside value g. So let's come up here. If h is 5x minus 3 and g is x minus 1, remember we start with the outside value, so this is going to be g of something equals x minus 1. But now we can replace that x with what we're plugging into it, which is h. And that is 5x minus 3. So now we just combine our like terms, and we get 5x minus 4 is this answer. So now, this is telling us to plug the inside value f into h. So we have, my h value is going to be 5x minus 3. And my f value, let's see, is that x squared plus 8. So now I'm going to have 5x minus 3. And what am I plugging in instead of x? Well, I'm plugging in the f value, which was x squared plus 8. Now we need to simplify. So we're going to distribute this 5, and that's going to give me 5x squared plus 25 minus 3. So we have 5x squared plus 22 is my answer. So 25 minus 3 gives me 22. Now the last one, let's rewrite this. First number goes on the outside, second number goes on the inside. So this is telling me that I'm going to plug G into F. So I know that my G value is x minus 1. Oop. I need to write the F first, my bad. So my F value in this case is x squared plus 8. So F of something equals x squared plus 8. But remember, instead of an x, I'm replacing it with that G, which was x minus 1. Now, just a side note, you don't have to do anything with this side. This is just notation to help us plug in the values. It's kind of like the y equals. So if it helps not to write that, don't worry about it. You can just write this portion right here. Now, let's continue by simplifying. This one's a little more complicated because I have an x minus 1 squared, which is the same thing as, so let's say equals x minus 1 times x minus 1. So we need to double distribute here. Then add the 8. So if we double distribute, we get x squared minus x plus 1. And then bring down the plus 8 and combine our like terms. So it's going to be x squared minus 2x plus 9 is our answer for f of g of x.